Hogstye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hogseye. I am coming to you live from the great up north, upstate New York. I was going to say Great White North, but it's very green. It's very green, everything around me. Uh, and of course, we have Dave in Philly. Steve never leaves Texas, and full show as we get ready.
I've done
You've done.
shows in Hogstye offices all over the place. Okay.
That's true. Well,
Yeah, he's been a few blocks down the street one direction, a few blocks in the other direction. I
he
mean,
did,
I
he
am
did
the
one from
only
his parents'
one-
basement.
I'm the only one who has brought all this equipment on airplanes many times. I am that dedicated.
That's true. My USB mic has died on me. I need to replace it at some point. But otherwise, I just throw it in the car.
I have rented office space for this
It's true.
show.
He did. He did do that.
I did do that.
Yeah. We won't say why, but he did that. Right. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. Yeah, I am up in New York having my little vacation. I told you guys I spent the whole day, or not whole day, most of the day hanging out on my aunt and uncle's boats with their dog, which was, just a great way to spend any vacation. I highly encourage everybody, if you're on a vacation, don't go to the beach. Beach is for suckers. Go find a lake, find a boat, find a dog, and just hang out. You'll have a good time.
Speaking of dogs, our fourth cast member is sitting here right beside me. He's very calm right now because we just ran in 90-degree weather. But I'm telling you right now, when his nemesis walks by, which is about to happen anytime, there's going to be hell to pay here. So yes, there will.
Yep.
And he's going to go from calm with his head on the windowsill to chaos here. So we'll see.
I mean, there's nothing
He'll
we
speak
can
up
do.
at an inopportune moment.
Right. Probably
As
right when
always
Steve
happens.
is wanting to
is there
break
really
down
an inopportune moment on this show?
Not
Yeah.
not really.
Not really. Not really. Well, we have a pretty decent show today. We'll be bringing down tight ends later in the show. That's our position group that we'll get to. But I think the first things we got to talk about, training camp is, when you're listening to the show, it'll be training camp eve for the Commanders, as rookies will be reporting on the 18th. The veterans show up July 22nd. So what is that? Saturday?
That's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so rookies are on
Friday.
I guess they hang out for the weekend. Here's your key card. Here's your lanyard. You're now an official part of the team. Here's HR. They're going to tell you some stuff about not to sexually harass people. I don't know what actually happens at rookie camp. I'm just going to guess. It's like everyone's first day at a job.
I suspect, there's some of that, but I suspect it's also you guys just need more time to become NFL players.
Right. Go run laps. Just constant running of laps.
Or here's your playbook. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to Snyder area, it's like which cheerleader would you like to hang out with today?
That's only if your name is Chris Cooley.
Yeah. Well, so Dan Snyder's HR department really was just, hey, who you want to hook up with?
Yes. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Well, he was going to send you photos of the cheerleaders so he'd help you determine it. That's the problem.
It's a catalog book.
For Dan Snyder, it was.
Yeah. Thankfully, we have good ownership now. We have, the Harris Group, not the Harris Ownership Group or whatever it is the Harris Ownership Group, not the other one that owns his soccer team soccer, football, or hockey and NBA team.
Well, interestingly enough,
I was talking to the guy who runs that. Or
my colleague on It's Just Business mentioned Larry mentioned that in New Jersey they hate him because of the New Jersey Devils.
Right.
I think he said I can't remember if he said New Jersey or Philly. Do they hate him in Philly, Dave?
There is some angst up here in Philly, yes, because with the whole ordeal with the process starting all the way back down with Hanky and and just how the team has been run in terms of they haven't made any kind of major decisions in terms of either trading Embiid when his value was at the highest, when the team wasn't going anywhere, bringing in talent that was either past their prime or letting guys go like Butler and keeping their first round pick. What was his name again? I forget. Whatever. He was terrible anyway. So instead of
he's made a bunch of bad decisions.
Yes, he's allowed general managers to continue to make bad decisions over and over and over again. And one of the worst ones the city hated was where they allowed Butler to walk out.
Right.
Butler wanted to stay. He had no problems playing side by side with Embiid. He just wanted obviously the max deal.
Right.
So it was
Well, they kept on keeping Ben Simmons around forever too.
Thank you, Ben Simmons. That was the one. They basically chose Ben Simmons over Butler as opposed to
let's pay a center to play point guard, even though he can't shoot very well.
All my point. Well, let's not go down the rabbit hole of basketball, but I mean, my point is, so Chris Larry is right in that they have consternation about him in Philly. So all is not totally well.
Well,
he's still in the honeymoon phase here in DC because like literally anybody who's one step up from Satan would be an improvement from what was, happened.
We kind of would have taken Satan.
I think you had Satan.
Well, I mean, if you remember, we were going through the whole ownership process. We found out one of the columns I talked about was the fact that, I'm sure that he is going to learn because first he had the Sixers. He went through trial and error with that. He learned from that.
Mm-hmm.
He was a better owner in terms of decisions he made with the Devils, and the Devils had started putting together a much better, brighter young team. They fired the general manager almost immediately when his vision wasn't coming into play. So he's been learning along the way. And now I'm hoping he takes another step as a football owner. And he's been getting better. It's just Philly, as we all know, is a very impatient city.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to hate Jalen Hurts by week 2 because he's not going to be perfect in the first couple of weeks. They're going to want him out of town before they even give him a chance to get hot. So that's how Philly is.
Well, so the team president for those other two teams lives down the street from me. That's all. Like he has a big old mansion down the street. This is quickly. He knew my father very well. I don't know about different generations, like that kind of thing. My aunt was at some party at his house the other day, but I'm not invited to those things because, they're all in their 60s and 70s.
You're not swanky enough for them.
I'm definitely not. I don't own an $8 million lakefront home or whatever it cost him.
Yeah, see, you're not swanky enough for them.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't be either. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's billionaires row over there, man. Those houses are insane. It's all rich people. It's like super rich people now.
I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole.
We have time to fill. We're just gonna chit chat.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Training camp.
Yeah, let's talk training camp. We have to talk training camp.
Well, just so everybody knows, so the dates, the fan dates are July 27th, 29th, and August 2nd, and then the open practices for season ticket members only are the 28th, 31st, and August 4th. That's a dramatic change from every other year of Washington football. Dramatic difference. And then the joint practice with the Patriots is August 6th up in Foxborough. Joint practice with the Ravens in Ashburn, August 21st. And then the schedule here is the first preseason game is on August 8th at New England. Second preseason game that's a Friday. And then Monday the 18th is the Bengals in Washington. And then the 23rd is Baltimore in Washington.
Yeah. Yep, those are your dates. So only that Cincinnati game might be interesting if you're a fan. I think we've just come to accept now that starters don't do anything except for that one preseason game at this point.
Right. Yeah, I don't think any of them are going to be interesting, to be honest.
Yeah. Dan Quinn is I don't think he's from that school where the starters don't play at all. He'll probably play them a couple series, right? Like he's not going to give them 0. I would suspect, I think last year we saw maybe 3 series from the starters all preseason. It was really low. I would expect that again.
I think they need work. If it were me, I would play the starters a lot more.
I would too. I'm traditional. I think starters need time. At least 50 snaps would be my number that I'd be shooting for through preseason.
Yeah, I
Basically a full
haven't counted
game.
up snaps, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean something a lot more than what they get.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're just not going to get it. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, if anything, the first preseason game, maybe the first like one quarter until you get the legs under on the second preseason game, 2 quarters, maybe a few plays in the third quarter, and then play about halfway to almost a full first quarter of the final preseason.
That's how they used to do it. That's how they used to do things back in the day when you had 4 games.
Yeah.
Back when men were men.
But in terms of like training camp, I don't really put much stock in the games necessarily, but I mean there are some things I think to look for in training camp. Number one, I think, is the offensive line and how well it gels. In my view, you know, and who's going to play where exactly. You know, I'm assuming obviously that the draft pick Connerly is going to be the right tackle.
Yeah, that's where everyone's penciling him.
I'm assuming Brandon Coleman then is the right guard, I guess.
No, left guard.
Sorry, left guard.
Yeah.
And Andrew Wiley, I assume, is the other guard, but who knows? I think how well that group flows together is, I think, critical. Does Jaden Daniels, does he kind of pick up where he left off? Does he look good? And obviously the Terry McLaurin question, which we're going to get into here. But to me, and by the way, I mean, you know, Trey Amos isn't signed yet. We'll get into that later. We'll see if he shows up.
I think the thing that people are not talking enough about is gelling of the defensive line, actually. You know, like we've seen some serious changes on that defensive front in terms of your key pass rushers, your key run stuffers here. You know, this is now Daron Payne is the star. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't love that as like he's going to be your best defensive lineman. You know, I know they're trying to become more physical and larger, and I get that, but somebody needs to show something as a pass rusher. Like right now, we don't have anybody. I feel like you could go off on the street and find 3 good pass rushers that might be an upgrade over what we got now. And that's what concerns me with this defense.
I get it, but I mean, they were horrible in run defense last year.
They were
absolutely terrible. They had to do something.
Yes,
and they weren't terrible in pass rush.
Right, but I think they've gotten worse in pass rush.
Oh yeah, they definitely have.
Yeah, in order to get better on run defense. So someone needs to show something.
Well, see, me, it's the running game. Because we don't have that 3-down running back. We don't have that home run hitter. We don't have that guy that can be that short yardage tough guy. I mean, I get Brian Robinson Jr., but he's good in short yardage. I get that, but it's just
he's not a bruiser.
I want to see it. No, he's not a bruiser, right? And the one thing that I want to see is how they're going to incorporate Deebo Samuels and maybe even their rookie receiver, Jalen
Lake?
Lake. Lane. Jalen Lane. If they're going to create, use more jet sweeps, they're going to use them more in the backfield because you got to get defenses on their toes more without using Jaden Daniels to do that. And Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, Terry McNichols, and their rookie Krosky
Merritt.
Merritt, thank you. I mean, these guys aren't going to put the defenses on their heels. Maybe Merritt might. We'll see. Right. But they're not putting fear in this defense. So now we have to try to figure out a way of getting these defenses to be honest. You know, and if you're going to rely on Jane Daniels for that, it might be a short season for him. You know, so I'll be curious to see how they're going to incorporate some of these other weapons they have to do just that.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, I think there are a lot of questions. You know, look, every position group is going to have some questions. Right. I was just writing up something about special teams, which we'll talk about next week. I'm high on a lot of the special teams, but their kicking game's going to be highly suspect all year, just like last year. Until you see somebody do it at all these holes, you know, you're going to wonder. And in some cases, like I think defensive end, I don't think we'll see an answer to those questions maybe this season, unfortunately. You can't fix everything. I get that, but that's kind of just where they are. You mentioned, Steve, the Terry McLaurin situation. He's finally spoken out with the media about his contract situation. I can't remember if it was he was shooting an Eastern Motors commercial, or like he's also shooting the Eastern Motors commercials. Those things that it's a DC tradition for the star Washington football players to all shoot these car commercials for Eastern Motors. He was at that. I know that. So yeah, Terry McLaurin spoke with the media. He is such a pro's pro that even in this situation, he comes off as, he's likable. He says the right things at every time, and he is not going to cause trouble like in this negotiation. He played this interview masterfully, in my opinion.
Well, first of all, Kobe's nemesis is walking by the house as we speak.
That's why Steve's been so quiet.
Yeah. Look, Terry McLaurin. I didn't see the interview, and the Eastern Motors commercials are all ridiculous, but it is a tradition.
Yes.
I still don't think it's time to panic here. The Garrett Wilson contract isn't a bad comp. He's 3 years younger than McLaurin, but the valuation came out exactly what I predicted 2 months ago. 4 years, 130 million. That is and always has been the sweet spot. Now Wilson's contract had 90 million guaranteed in it, but however, it was not clear that was guaranteed at signing or becoming guaranteed. I strongly suspect that was total guarantees over the life of the contract. And so Washington's going to have to get over it. I mean, I don't know what the holdup is. I know McLaurin claims they hadn't even contacted him in like a month or something like that. Yeah. But I've got news for Dan Quinn and Josh Harris and company. 4 years, 130 million is the number. Okay.
Yeah.
I said 2 months ago, 130, 135 million. That is because that is his value. Garrett Wilson is a decent comp because his numbers are, even despite the fact that he's 2 years junior, his stats are similar. He didn't have 2 Pro Bowls, but he was Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. So there's some accolades there. That is the number, and they're just going to have to get over it.
So the thing I loved about McLaurin's contract, and I watched most of it. I pulled some quotes. Kime had some of the better quotes that McLaurin had stated. One, he does say he wants to be here. He says he's not really thinking about like getting traded. He's not at that point of the whole like stage. There's no point of no return that's been crossed in these contract negotiations, were his words. He does, but at the same time, he's hyper aware of things like, yeah, he's older than a lot of these guys who are getting big contracts.
Right.
Even though but his argument would be, I've played the same amount of time. It's still 7 years to 7 years. It's the same amount of tread on the tires. I understand that argument, but it's not true. As you age, your body just heals slower. Like that's just a fact of life for 99.99% of the planet.
I mean, he's 29 years old.
Right.
And so you fast forward 5 years. Now we're talking about a 34-year-old who's making $35 million a year in average annual value.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reluctance, because I mean, I told you guys before, 3 or 4 year contract is a sweet spot. And for somebody like McLaurin, who's, an excellent performer, it's probably 4.
Right.
And maybe that's the hang up to it. Somebody's gonna, if it's not Washington, somebody's gonna offer to him, is the thing. He's gonna get it from somebody. It might as well be Washington.
Well, I know a couple days ago, Burgundy Blog, who I know people still don't like, but whatever.
Didn't we have him on this show?
No.
Yeah, what I know you guys.
No, he was never on
had
the show.
A relationship years ago, but I don't think it was on the show. Was it?
Because you were thinking someone else.
No. Yeah, you're thinking someone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as far as him, he was talking about how the Garrett Wilson deal might make the Terry Terry contract a little bit easier to do. But he made a comment, which I do agree with the last sentence he said, which I told him, was that every team in the league would much rather have Wilson by a mile because of age, the upside, and what he brings to the game and all that. Which, me personally, I agree. I think Wilson is on the verge of being that next elite receiver in this league. I think last year with the Aaron Rodgers debacle kind of held him back a year with that. But the one thing I did say is the value that Terry brings to this team, especially with Daniels, I would argue makes his value equal to Garrett, to Garrett Wilson. But does the team agree with that statement or not? So basically, I think in terms of, maybe in terms of overall talent level and where they're at in their careers, a team would much rather have a Garrett Wilson type of receiver. But Garrett Wilson doesn't bring the intangibles that we've seen Terry McLaurin bring to this locker room, to a young quarterback, and to this offense, and how well that he's played with bad quarterbacks in the past, and he's only gotten better with Jayden Daniels. So it's like, I think the value there, you can argue that kind of balances out with Garrett Wilson, in my opinion. So that's why I'm like 4 years. I mean, low annual value. I know annual values are just a number, but just just for sake of discussion, right around 30 to 32 million, I think is right where they need to be.
Well, I mean, the record is what it is.
Right.
That's his value. That is his value, and that's just the end of the story. Then maybe the debate is on the amount of guaranteed money. Maybe McLaurin's got a totally different perspective on that, possibly. That part is possible, but
I mean, not a single thing that he mentioned in all the quotes was about the money itself. I mean, he did say that
he's too classy to negotiate in public like that.
Right. He was aware of, like, the market is what these guys are getting today, and these are guys who are around my caliber, and they're deserving of that, so I should be too. Like, that's the only thing he said to that effect.
And he's not wrong. He's totally right.
No, he's not wrong.
And plus, you're also dealing with Jayden Daniels' rookie contract right now, so you have that extra money that you can use and spend to keep a guy like him, while Jayden Daniels grows into the future for this team.
Dave.
No,
it's not that big a deal because, by the time Jayden Daniels needs a new contract, if he's still on a high performance and all of that doesn't burn out, I mean, by that time the salary cap's gonna have gone up another 50 million.
Oh no, I get that. It's just the fact that having him around at not whatever cost, but on the most part, whatever it's going to cost to help continue that growth of Jayden Daniels. You take McLaurin off this team, I think his growth completely, but it does take a step back now because he loses chemistry, loses a reliable target. And that's where that value adds to that.
Right. So, look, Terry McLaurin is, I hate to use this as a baseball analogy, but he's basically what Derek Jeter was in terms of like that leadership person in this locker room.
That's not a bad comp, actually.
Yeah, like Jayden Daniels is more like A-Rod. He's the superstar who makes a lot more big plays. Hopefully not the off-field issues A-Rod had. You know what I mean? But I think, I really think that, Terry's, he's just that solid citizen. He's your team leader. You look to him for, when the team needs to win, he's the guy who can help them rally with just his effort on the field. I mean, look, just pay the man. I know that they need to negotiate it out some more, but if you're not talking, then you're not trying at this point. Like, we're a few days away to training camp. Get it done.
Yeah, they need to get it done. It's. I think this is not the contract to stand up for. Now, I've told you guys before, I hate holdouts. I would, if it were me, I just wouldn't. If you're gonna hold out, we're done until you're not holding out anymore. But be that as it may, this is not the contract to argue over, in my view.
No, if it's someone like a Deebo Samuel who might be a good player, but he's not been loyal to this team. He's a mercenary.
As long as we're talking about contracts, so let's get into Trey Amos.
Oh,
Trey
sure.
Amos,
That's
second round pick, cornerback. He's the only one not signed of the draft class. And we've now learned that the issue is that Amos is demanding a fully guaranteed contract. I wasn't even aware of this until Dave mentioned it just right before the show. There are 2 fully guaranteed contracts, both new rookies. I vehemently disagree with this. I think the team's 100% right. You cannot start giving out fully guaranteed contracts. If that's what Trey Amos wants, I just let him go. Just don't sign, and when you're ready to sign, come see us. But we're not doing guaranteed contracts in the story, no matter what. And that may be where they are with it, because there's been no talk, no reporting, no anything whatsoever.
Where is Trey Amos? What he was picked? What, 35 or something like that?
I don't keep that in my log. I just keep the round, so I'm not sure. It would have been probably 36 though, right?
36. All right. So either way,
that's not. That's not right. I'm wrong. That's not 30. I don't know. I'll look it up. Keep talking.
Yeah, but so I was looking at what those guys are slotted to get. That contract would be $11.5 million roughly.
He was a 61st overall pick.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds more right. Yeah.
Oh, now we're down to 7.25.
I was thinking in my head, last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's getting, even if you were to fully guarantee it, it doesn't break the bank for the team.
Yeah, but
obviously.
That's not the point. You have to
understand
about you're talking to someone who negotiates every day for a living, okay? You cannot set precedent.
Right.
That's
I get that
the problem. Part. Yeah, when you give this guy you're going to get other people demanding it. It's all public record. It's right. You can't do this. You can't go down the road. Think about the teams that have done this. One was the Bengals. What was the other one, Dave?
Chargers.
The Bengals, who are horrible.
No, not Chargers. It was Texans. Using Texans.
Okay, well, the Bengals are horribly managed. They made a ton of horrible decisions over the years. Their ownership group is a train wreck.
We might talk about it later. They're about to lose one of their top players because of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, and the Texans have made a bunch of weird decisions too, for that matter. I think if I were Josh Harris, Dan Quinn, etc., who the heck's the GM? The name's escaping me.
Adam Peters.
Thank you, Adam Peters. I just wouldn't do it. I just really, really wouldn't do it. I mean, just Trey, if that's what you want, we'll be here when you change your mind.
I'm actually surprised that the NFL doesn't have provisions in terms of something like this cannot happen. I mean,
we'd have to negotiate that in the CBA, and it's not in the CBA.
But that's what I'm surprised they didn't do. Or at least
get everything.
Right. Or at least have it where you can guarantee up to a certain amount, not the full.
You have to negotiate that, and the union has to agree to it, though. I mean, it's easier said than done.
Sure. Right. Well, so we were going to talk about the Shamar Stewart thing later, with him wanting some special contract language. Maybe Washington and Cincinnati says swap your first round defensive end for this cornerback. If you're willing to do that, a contract for a smaller deal like that because Cincinnati's issues, they're cheap, right? They just don't want to pay anybody any serious money.
Well, that's not what the Shamar Stewart
debate
is about.
I know it's not, but maybe you use that as trade bait and get yourself a stud defensive end, which you need if you're Washington. That's all I'm saying. It's not the worst idea.
I mean, I'm not sure you can trade an unsigned draft pick, first of all. So
actually,
it may have to.
I don't know.
It may have to be a sign and trade thing, and Trey Amos would then be in the driver's seat for it.
Right. And if you're signing a fully guaranteed contract, that makes trading him almost impossible.
Right. Exactly right. And if it's a team he doesn't like, then he's not going to do it.
Right. Well, so many of these guys come in, they don't care about what team they're on. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, it's all about money, and that's the argument with Trey Amos. You go, look, you want to make millions of dollars, or you want to go home to mom and dad for a year?
Right.
There's your options.
Yeah.
Or go back to school and hang out in whatever university you're from for a year.
Maybe. I don't know offhand if he even could, if he's eligible.
Well, he could go there and hang out and do nothing at a minimum. My point is, you go, look, do you want to be a pro or do you not want to be a pro? We're not paying you guaranteed money. That's off the table. we want to have you here. We drafted you for a reason, but that's not happening. So either sign this or you go back to Mississippi. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, at some point.
Now now this is the answer from AI on Google that yes, an NFL team can trade an unsigned draft pick. Once a player is drafted, they are not officially part of the team's roster until they sign a contract, but their draft rights can be traded to another team.
Okay, there you go.
So I guess they, in theory, both could be swapped if you wanted to.
I would still say, even if that is true, Amos is still in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Because he's just not going to sign it with another team either.
Right.
Yeah. Unless they were willing to. Like, you could swap it if someone was willing to do that kind of thing. And the Bengals are stupid. They might do it. The other, of course, fully guaranteed contract that came to mind immediately to me was the Cleveland Browns,
which is the worst contract in NFL history, in my view.
Absolutely, on so many levels. All right,
actually made Albert Hayward a bargain contract.
It did. So we were talking about Terry McLaurin, and we're talking about his intangibles as a leader. Just a good work effort guy, a true workhorse type wide receiver. And wouldn't you know, Washington is going to be retiring I think the guy who epitomized that here in the 80s into the 90s, and that's Art Monk. One of my all-time favorite players, just the way he approached the game, the way he was kind of just like, he let his play do the talking. Hall of Famer. His number is finally going to be retired as well, 81. I'm happy to see that. I think that the number retirement stuff for some of these greats has been overdue. We're kind of getting to the end of it, though. Let's be honest. We don't need to retire that many more players, if any.
I could think of a ton of them, personally.
I mean, I could think of a ton of them, but you also can't retire 50 numbers.
No, but Theismann's number 7. What's Sonny's number? Is Sonny's number retired?
Sonny was retired. 17? Yeah,
9. 44 Riggins
already retired.
28 Darrell Green already retired. Sammy Baugh, he's retired.
Already retired.
Retired, right?
His was the first one. Yeah, back like
Charlie Taylor.
Yep.
Bobby Mitchell,
retired, I believe. Yep, already retired.
Bobby Mitchell's retired.
Yep.
Gary Clark.
That's Gary. Gary Clark's not retired. I don't see him as retirement worthy, honestly. I know he was a great player,
maybe.
But
Charles
maybe
Mann.
Butts. Maybe Charles Mann.
I don't know if he could really retire Manley given his off the field discretions.
What about Joe Jacoby? Is his number retired?
Story.
Jacoby definitely. Yeah, but he
Jacoby's
should be.
Not retired.
Should be.
Yeah, he should be.
But
I didn't realize they retired that many. I didn't realize they were that many.
They've been doing one a year for the last 5 years now.
And just in terms of Monk, long overdue.
Yep.
It better be a Redskin jersey.
It is.
It better be. Do you know that, or are you guessing?
Well, no, the image I sent you was definitely that 80s style jersey, and it got the decal on the bottom for Darrell Green. They're going to do the same thing with him. There's no rhyme or reason to go opposite of that. That wouldn't make any sense at all.
It would really irritate me. My Art Monk stories, I met and was able to talk to Art Monk for a few minutes years ago. I went to a autograph signing at the Fair Oaks Mall in Virginia. And it was Monk and a couple other players, and I didn't really care about, but Monk I wanted to meet. And so I waited in the line and everything. And then he signed my whatever it was with the photo, which I have sitting over here right now. And then the line got hung up there with the other 2 players because he was first. And so he just sat there and talked to me for a couple minutes. Such a nice guy, so classy, no arrogance at all. The epitome of what a pro should be in that couple 2-3 minutes. And I don't even remember what I said to him, but he was super nice, super great guy.
I was a little kid at Petty Bones Bar, which was around the corner from where I grew up in Arlington. And Art Monk did a thing there. I think Darrell Green was there too. Monk didn't say more than 2 words when they asked him to say something, because he's Art Monk. He was just like, "Good to be here, everybody." But he signed something for everybody. Like he was that's who he was. He was like, you want something signed? All right, what you got? Like he hung out there, made sure every kid got something signed if they wanted it.
I mean, to me, the Art Monk is the epitome of class.
Absolutely.
He's what a professional football player should be. I think he was massively disrespected by the Hall of Fame committee and
100%.
What's his name? Peter Zimmerman, and who's the SI guy? Zimmerman.
Not Peter King. No, Peter King.
Peter King and
Peter King, yeah.
Yeah, and Zimmerman. Others. Yeah. Paul Zimmerman's the guy who died. But yeah, anyway. And so it's long overdue.
Well, see, and also the problem too we ran into was a buzzsaw of those young, with Rice and Brown and all those guys that came in. When offenses when offenses were starting to open up a lot more, it was like, all of a sudden, well, look what these guys are doing. Art Monk took all this time. I'm gonna do. It was a different era.
Yeah.
And then plus, I still think we've got guys like Peter King. The whole thing with the Redskins name and the logo, he held that against him as well.
I wrote a column about this years ago, and I actually went through and found all of Peter King's crap he wrote about Art Monk. And because and put it all in a column. So if anybody wants to Google that, I'd have to go find it myself. But I wrote a history of Peter King's discretions with Art Monk.
Yeah. So one thing about Art Monk, I mean, one, you have to realize he was that big receiver. He was basically what Jason Reed became here in Washington. Like he was that athletic slot guy. Kind of what we use for tight ends now in the modern NFL. He was doing that back before it was a thing. Just given his size relative to what a tight end was back then, he was 6'3", 210 pounds. That would basically been a small pass catching tight end back in the day. Like there weren't, there were not 210-pound receivers very often. He was just a giant there. By the way, Steve, you're asking about the jerseys. So the November 2nd date when they're retiring it, that happens to be one of the throwback games for Seattle. So I think it's pretty safe to say which jersey he'll be.
Yeah, that's probably true.
He'll be using for the retirement. Smart move, by the way, Harris team, to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we know Dave's gonna have to make sure he gets to that game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
I've been trying to find my Art Monk column. I cannot find it. It's out there somewhere if anybody wants to look it up.
Yeah. It gets hard when you've written as many columns to keep track of them all.
Oh my God. I mean, I've written a ton of them. Yeah, it's hard. I can't even remember how many. I mean, I've been writing columns for 8 years every week for 50 a year, maybe more,
Sometimes,
there's 400 or 500 of them at this point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
And every single one of them is great. All of them.
Yes,
of course they are.
None of them are overly dry and analytical.
No, of course not.
None of them have.
I think my the apex of that probably was my
draft breakdown.
Yeah, probably that or the injury one I did. And remember, I called you, Alex, on a weekend. Remember this? And I had this great idea. I was going to analyze every single play.
Yep.
In the whole season to determine like the trends of the coaching staff and
right. And I said no, absolutely not.
Even I came to the realization, even for me, that's like a full, that's crazy. I could have done it, but it would have been like a full-time job for a year to do that.
Yes, because there are people who do that for a full-time job. They work for NFL teams.
That was where I had to draw the line, was analyzing every single play in the entire season. I can't do that.
Yeah. All right. So some other team news to hop on real quick. Obviously, yesterday, July 15th, was the deadline for the city to sign the Commanders and the Mayor's deal for the stadium. And the city has balked at that and said, no, we don't like the deal as it stands, and we're going to take our time. So that deadline's over. The team's still talking with the city, of course, and vice versa. Everything's trying to be worked out. But because that deadline has passed, the exclusive rights are gone. And now Maryland and Virginia are starting to put together their own bids to try and woo the Washington football team to either stay in Landover, I'd assume, or move out to Richmond or something. I don't know what Virginia wants to do.
Well, it wouldn't be
Virginia's
Richmond,
weird.
but it would be somewhere south
It
or way out past.
it might be closer to Richmond than DC at this point.
Or
find
way out
land.
past like Centerville or somewhere. Look,
Yeah.
this is part of the game, okay?
It
People
is.
shouldn't get too wrapped up around the axle over this. This is the way major negotiations go. It's leverage. You know, these other states are trying to make their play. You can't blame them. I mean,
No.
Maryland probably makes the most sense to me. You know,
Logistically, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%.
Because I told you before, I mean, building in DC is really complicated.
Right.
You know, you're talking about the federal government's involved. DC didn't have any money. You know, how are they going to fund $500 million? They're going to issue bonds. That's how. How are they going to repay the bonds? Good question.
Right.
You know, when they
That's
gave
what
all the proceeds for the stadium to the team.
Right. That's why they said we need time to look at this. And
yeah,
they should.
And they're
Yeah.
right. And you know, and they're being proper elected officials by doing it.
Right.
You know, it's just not. You know, if you haven't done this, you know, a lot of people, their perspective thinks you can just snap fingers and build stadiums, and that's just not the case.
Well, lucky for the team, the most corrupt council member may have just gotten reelected in Ward 8. So, like, they might be able to bribe an extra word. Well, we found out he got kicked out for accepting $150,000 bribe from a developer. So, you know, like, we know his price.
The home of Marion Barry seems to have lots and lots of corrupt officials.
No, this guy's it's two, because this is the guy who succeeded Barry.
Well, that you know of, or you know, there's a lot more. Trust me.
Sure, we don't hear many stories of corrupt politicians out there either. I'm pretty surprised. So
they're getting away with it. That's why.
Yeah. But this guy just got reelected, or looks like he's getting reelected, when he's on video taking a bribe and sticking it in his coat pocket.
How are people this stupid?
Because they walk to the ballot machine, push
a
button, and walk back out. They don't care who's on it. They
say,
okay, well, I'm red, I'm hitting red. I'm blue, I'm hitting blue. I'm independent.
Well, but this is all in DC. It's all blues hitting blue, and
like five Republicans. Yeah.
No, 0 Republicans even ran. It was 4 Democrats all running for the same.
I meant the voters. It's all.
In the whole population of the city.
Yeah, there's like 5.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right. Numbers may be slightly off, but it's not far.
But Dave's point is valid. I mean, generally speaking, the voters are woefully uninformed.
Right. Yeah, they see the name they know and they vote. Yeah.
They pick their team, and you know that's it.
Yeah.
I think Matt Gaetz kept getting elected.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how do you think all of them keep getting
elected? Or to be, you know, equal opportunity here, Senator Menendez in New Jersey got caught with gold bars in his closet.
Yep, still got reelected. Yeah,
he didn't get reelected, but he got elected.
Did he not get reelected? I thought they knew about that when he ran.
Did they? I might be wrong. Either way, that guy got elected. Is my point.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, I love gold as much as any Jewish guy, but like, you don't keep it in your closet. Yes. I would like some gold bars up here. That would really help with some construction work I got to get done. Anyway,
you're gonna make me look up Bob Menendez.
No, don't look up Bob Menendez. It's not that interesting to our we're not a politics show.
So he resigned in 2024.
He did. Yes, he did resign.
Yeah.
But he's still probably going to jail. So.
Well, yeah, it says he's a convicted felon, so he must have gotten convicted for this finally.
Yep.
But continue. Wait, let's get back to football.
Let's get back to football and let's change gears. We got to talk about tight ends, and we have 2 ways to approach this. One, we have my position group right now who are on the roster, but Steve also did a historical thing about tight ends through Redskins history, which was a pretty good article. I will give Steve a minute to bring that up. Meanwhile, let me break down the position group of tight ends for you guys. One, I'm actually surprised they didn't go after a tight end in this draft, because this draft actually had a bunch of really solid tight ends they could have taken to strengthen this roster. But I guess they like what they have in Ben Sinnott. Let's start there. He's the 23-year-old draft pick from last year. Only had 5 catches last season, though, 28 yards. Not what you'd expect out of your second-round pick. If you want to kind of say maybe they were redshirting him, okay, great. But he played about 300 snaps over the course of the season and still only 5 catches. That's not great. Not a great start to his career. You're hoping maybe another year in this offense, he'll understand the pro style system more that they're running and, be more productive. Of course, they brought back Zach Ertz, who is 34 years old, probably a Hall of Famer. Maybe. He's one of these guys who, his time in Philly, he was incredibly productive.
I think he'd be borderline. He'd be in the discussion.
Definitely.
I'm not sure he'd make it.
He might get a couple rounds deep. I don't know if he'll ever be a finalist. But Ertz, in I think his 10th season now, had a bit of a resurgence last year. 66 catches, 654 yards, 7 touchdowns. His best season in 3 years. You do have to worry about the age, of course, 34, and the fact that he was injured a lot in those years prior. And, I do think one of the reasons they drafted Sanat even after getting Ertz was assuming he was going to get hurt and that Sanat would have to fill in for 2-3 games, and that would be where his production would start to show.
Which didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Ertz stayed healthy. I think he's been great, though, for Jayden Daniels. The most important thing for a rookie quarterback to have is a reliable tight end to be kind of a safety valve, and that's exactly what Zach Ertz does, because he can't run after the catch anymore. He catches the ball, he maybe scrambles for a yard or two, and then falls down.
He's just a target, and he catches it, and he immediately just collapses.
Right. But he's reliable at that, and, that you get 8-9 yards a chunk there, maybe a little more. That's a good thing. It works out for you in the end. They brought back John Bates, of course. So these are going to be your core guys: is Ertz, Sanat, and John Bates, the run blocking specialist. Steve, he got a big contract for a blocking tight end, $4.3 million.
Yeah, I didn't totally get it.
Yeah, I didn't totally get it either.
The 4.3 is just the cap hit, by the way. For
that's his cap hit. Sorry.
Yeah, the actual total contract was $21 million.
Right.
With $11 million guaranteed.
Yeah. So they gave him a big contract for a blocking tight end. That there is value in blocking tight ends. Don't get me wrong. I know it doesn't show up in the stats.
I don't know if there's $21 million of value in a blocking tight end.
I don't know. So if you're thinking of him almost like he's another guard, or he's not a left tackle, obviously a blocking tight end, but he's like an interior lineman. What's $7 million for a good interior lineman? That's pretty much market value, or maybe a little less.
It's reasonable. Yeah, it's reasonable.
Yeah.
It's in the ballpark.
So if you maybe approach it like that, think of him more like an offensive lineman. He's in the reasonable area there. Bates averaged a little over 1 catch a game for the first 61 games of his career, by the way. So when we say he's a blocking tight, that's a blocking tight end.
That is.
Yeah. So next up, Colson Yankoff, everyone's favorite player. Everyone's favorite
He's
name.
got the best name on the team.
Absolutely. And Steve loves him. I mentioned that in my column, how much Steve loves Colson Yankoff because of his special teams play. Yankoff only played special teams for Washington last year. That's all he does. I think he had 6 snaps on offense otherwise. So that's why he's here. He's a special teams depth chart guy. The other guy I didn't realize was on the team, Cole Turner. I forgot Cole Turner was still around. So
you're not the only one. Everybody forgot Cole Turner's still around.
Right.
Who?
So yeah. Well, there was a time when people thought Cole Turner was going to be a starter for us.
There's irrational fans who think a lot of things thought Cole Turner was going to be a starter.
Who are these irrational fans? I've never met them. I've never looked in a mirror and seen one.
This is what the Hog side does. We try to be rational and down the middle with this stuff.
We do. So they did bring in 2 guys to compete who are veteran players. Lawrence Cager, who's kind of a journeyman. He's a local guy from Baltimore area. He's been with the Jets and the Giants, but he's mostly been a practice squad guy his career. And then a name I am fascinated by, Tyree Jackson, who I remember when he came out of Buffalo as a quarterback, Buffalo University. He was a giant. He's 6'7", 249, and that's what he played quarterback at. Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn as a quarterback. He was not an accurate guy, but just because of that size, he was pretty impressive to watch physically. He's made the transition to tight end and been hurt pretty much constantly ever since. So, that size is intriguing, 6'7", 250. I don't really have much hope for him. He could be an interesting practice squad prospect just because he can play quarterback, so he's got position flex in the practice squad. But that would probably be it for him. I think it's safe to say this year's tight end group, we kind of know who's making the roster. It's those top three guys. Maybe yank off if somebody doesn't supplant him on special teams, right? Like, I don't think there's much controversy here.
No.
Right.
Oh, no. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I thought I was muted there for a minute. No, there's no controversy here. Okay.
Right.
But we know who's making the roster. It's Ertz, Not, and Bates. Period. Dot. The end. End story.
Right.
The rest of them are just competing for practice squad slots, and
practice
they may keep one, maybe
teams.
one practice squad, or maybe at most.
Right.
Now,
special teams. That's it.
Now, of course, I was a big Ben Sinnott fan last year. We all know that, and I think that he has some upside. But just to kind of put him in perspective, Travis Kelce's rookie year, he had 67 catches for 862 yards. T.J. Hockenson, 32 catches, 367. Trey McBride, 29 catches, 265. And Mark Andrews, 34, 552. So the point here is, at least in these guys, they're some of the least top tight ends. And even Kittle had, I think, like 60-some catches. Where was he at? He was at, I don't have him there. But either way, he had more than like 30 or 40 catches in his rookie year and so forth. But the whole point is in your rookie year, these top tight ends, they were able to be involved in the offense. They were able to niche out a role. And one thing that kind of worries you is that Ben Sinnott was unable to niche out that kind of a role behind a tight end that's 34 years old. A tight end that most considered washed before the season started, and he couldn't get a prominent role to at least get somewhere near 20 catches at least, but he walked away with 5. So, to me, that's a bit concerning, even for as much of a fan as I was of him last year. And I think he still has upside, and I'm hoping he breaks out this year. You still got to look at that and say, well, these top tight ends, they were able to niche out a role, and he couldn't behind Ertz.
Yeah,
that's a bit concerning.
He might be going down the wrong road.
Maybe.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope he does kind of find his footing this year. Well, anyway, so those are the tight ends. Steve, do you want to talk about your article from last week about historical tight ends? Because I did find it pretty interesting.
Now, I have had some fun over the past month or so, because let's be honest, not a ton to talk about. I've been diving back into Washington Redskins history about the best players at various positions. I did kick and punt returners, did running backs, did wide receivers, did tight ends last week. This week was quarterbacks. Next week, I'm going to do sacks and maybe tackles. I've only got halfway through it. So tight ends, there's been a real dearth of quality tight ends in Washington history. That's what I learned from my dive here. So what I did for this is I went back and found the number. I dug up stats on receptions, receiving yards, yards per reception, and touchdowns. And then we did a little bit of a Jerry Smith analysis. And the bottom line here is that Chris Cooley is the leader in the clubhouse for receptions at 429. He's second when yards for 47, more than 4,700. Jerry Smith is in first with yards for 4,800 and change. Yards per reception goes down a rabbit hole with this. Terry Orr, actually, believe it or not, 18.1 yards per reception. He's the only player of all these guys, these columns I've been doing. Terry Orr is the only one who is anywhere near the top of the all-time NFL list is him with 18.1. And then touchdowns is, again, Jerry Smith and Chris Cooley. Jerry's ahead by a lot, 54 TDs. Cooley, 33. The bottom line with this is that in Washington history for tight ends, it's Jerry Smith and Chris Cooley, and everybody else is just in third. Believe it or not, for receptions, Jordan Reed is in third, 329, and then Don Warren is way behind. You remember Don Warren, 244. Receiving yards, again, Cooley, Reed, Smith and Cooley, way ahead of everybody else. Jordan Reed's distant third, 3,300. Let's see, touchdowns. Jerry Smith, I already said Jerry Smith's outpaced everybody, 54. Cooley's way behind, 33, and then Jordan Reed, 24. So you're seeing a trend here. Some order: Jerry Smith, Chris Cooley, and then Jordan Reed, and then the rest of it are just backups. Now here's the debate: Jerry Smith. Washington fans definitely have sort of universally think Jerry Smith belongs in the Hall of Fame. And there have been allegations that Jerry Smith's sexuality, he came out later after he retired as homosexual. And there were.
Well, he also died of AIDS.
He died of AIDS, but he didn't come out openly with this until after he's retired. But several players said they knew about it while he was playing. And so there have been allegations that has been held against him. That may be true, maybe not. But in order to find out, I did dig through tight ends, Hall of Fame tight ends, and surprisingly, believe it or not, Alex read the column. Dave, did you read this column?
Yes.
Okay, so I can't have you guess. There's only 10 tight ends in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Mike Ditka, John weirdly Mackey, low number.
I was shocked it was that low. Mike Ditka, John Mackey, Jackie Smith, Kellen Winslow, Ozzie Newsome, Dave Casper, Charlie Sanders, Shannon Sharpe, Tony Gonzalez, and Antonio Gates. Now you got to remove Sharpe, Gonzalez, and Gates from this right off the top because that's totally different offense system. Tight ends are totally
different
changed.
era, everything.
Completely right. Completely different era. And so what you're really in Jerry Smith, 65 to 77. So if you look at that time frame roughly, you're talking about Ditka, Mackey, and Charlie Sanders as the competition. And I think you got to remove Ditka from the equation because Ditka was much higher profile, head coach of the most famous team in NFL history, the '85 Bears. So really, truly, I think the real competition is John Mackey and Charlie Sanders. In that regard, Jerry Smith measures up fairly decently. He's got Mackey and Sanders beat in catches, 331, 336, 421 yardage, 5,200, 4,800 to 54, almost 5,500 touchdowns. He's got Mackey beat in touchdowns. He's got both of them beaten touchdowns by a lot. Where he doesn't have them is Pro Bowls, All Pro, Super Bowls. Let's throw Super Bowls out.
Yeah.
Jerry Smith only has 2 Pro Bowls, 2 All Pro selections. Mackey's got 5 and 3. Sanders has 7 and 3. Woefully lacking in that regard. And so that's where he's lacking. And I think what you have here is an argument. I'm not going to make an pitch one way or the other about how his sexuality may or may not have affected it, but I think you've got an Art Monk problem here with Jerry Smith. Great player, but because he was never selected for too many Pro Bowls, All Pros, I think you're going to see writers say, he's in the Hall of Very Good. It may be not fair, but I think that's what you're going to get with him.
Yeah,
Washington fans don't agree, but that's I think.
Obviously, I would say it's definitely not fair. You're talking about a guy
whose stats are better than the ones his
stats were objectively, he was probably one of the best tight ends of his era.
Certainly absolutely.
Yeah.
But the Pro Bowls and the All Pro selections really hold him back.
Right. Look, I think I think that there's a bit of a advantage for, I think, you mentioned the Art Monk thing. The same thing happened at tight end. Art Monk was putting up big numbers at receiver for his time, but then things blew up. That's what's happened with tight ends too. What Jerry Smith did back then was impressive, but those are pedestrian tight end numbers now, comparatively speaking. Like if you told me your tight end's career best year this year was, 500 yards, I'd be like, that's fine. But that's mostly what he did was 500-yard seasons.
It's just a totally different era.
Yeah.
He's definitely worthy. He's not unworthy of the Hall of Fame. Is it a massive oversight? No. That's where I kind of ended up with it. He's worthy. If he was in, people would say he's worthy of it. He's left out. Is it a huge oversight? Probably not. Is it a minor oversight? Yes, one of many, including Jacoby and many on the Redskins.
Yeah. Now I'll give you an interesting question for this. Jerry Smith played 12 seasons, I think, overall for Washington, maybe 13. I think he
12,
was.
I think it was 65, 77. Yeah.
Yeah. If Cooley had played the 3 more seasons to kind of match up, he obviously
would have
beat
slaughtered.
Yardage.
He would. Oh yeah, absolutely. But again, it's a different era.
Yeah, I still don't think he would have beat touchdowns though. That's the only one where he probably
maybe
would not have caught up. Yeah.
Jerry Smith was way ahead of him in touchdowns.
Yeah, over 20 touchdowns. So
right.
That would be a tall order in 3 seasons. You'd have to be very productive in the red zone.
That wasn't going to happen.
No, but it is interesting to think. I think Cooley was probably more effective for those couple years, just numbers one.
I would like to say that I think for voters of an era gone by, I don't think it's impossible to suggest that the fact that Jerry Smith's sexuality was in question wasn't a factor. It probably was a factor at some level, which is not fair and it's wrong and all of that. But I don't think we can just dismiss it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at Washington's the Redskins' record during that time. I know the first half of his career they only had 1 winning season, which was 69, where they're 7-5-2, and one other year where they were 566. So I mean, the Pro Bowl selection too are going to be kind of determined in terms of how good or bad these teams were at that time. So it's not like Washington was fielding like a top half of the team or top half of the league type of team. So the Pro Bowl selections were probably a little less than norm. Now the back half of his career was much different. I mean, you have 4 10 or more win seasons, 2 9-win seasons. So now I don't have it where like which seasons he was selected for the Pro Bowl, but I'm pretty sure that probably his Pro Bowl is probably aligned more with those winning seasons than as opposed to
I'm sure you're right, but it doesn't really matter going back when the Hall of Fame voters. Yeah, you're not wrong.
No. Yeah, I'm just bringing perspective in terms of his amount of Pro Bowls he's been to, and why maybe he hasn't been voted to as many. That's all. But no, you're right for a voter perspective in terms like it's an error pass by and all that good stuff right now. So.
Yeah. I mean, he was a pass catching tight end in an era where tight ends' jobs was to block.
Yes.
So, I obviously didn't do it here. It would actually be interesting to go back and look at those tight ends who beat him out for the Pro Bowls. Were they blockers or what? All right. So we are at time. We didn't get to the Robert Griffin versus Shaq thing, which, oh well.
I'm on RG3's side, but let's move on.
Steve's on RG3's side. RG3 might be right, but I'd like to see Shaq just punch RG3. It would just be interesting to see that happening. And then, but that's it, guys. So that wraps up this week's episode. We will talk to you all next week.
All right. And yes, the back half of his career, second half is when he got to the Pro Bowls, not the first half. There you go. Yep. That's my closing remark. Not that it matters.
There we go. Okay. All right.
All right. Later.
All right. I got to run the dog.